Hello and welcome to the Art of Hot Monogamy Happy Hour. I'm so happy that you've joined us for this series. I am Allie Cole and I am delighted to be here with you and with one of my friends and colleagues, an early teacher of mine in this space, Alicia Davon. I'll be bringing her on in a moment. Before we even get going, I though would like to invite you to just for a moment let your eyes close. To just let yourself settle, to connect with your breath, to let yourself land in your chair, to let your eyes soften, to let your jaw soften. Whatever it took to get here, letting your exhalation melt that away. Just taking these first moments, we're going to be diving into awakening pleasure. And you can begin right now just by slowing down, by connecting your brain, what you're hearing, what you're feeling, your breath, your physical body, the chair, the couch that's holding you. Pleasure begins with being with what is in this moment. And as we are admitting lots of people, not wasting a moment to already begin awakening pleasure. I'm looking forward to exploring this. I came into this work as a global CEO. Pleasure was not a big thing in my life. And over the last 12 years of studying it, I have found it to be one of my absolute favorite, most easy accesses to feeling juicier with myself, with my partner. And we will share some of that with you tonight. It's just a little teaser taster. If you want to go deeper, there's all kinds of ways that we'll talk about after. But in the meantime, I just invite you to get ready to relax, to have some fun, to get introduced to something that has been an incredible doorway to pleasure, juiciness in my own life. I have been with my partner for 18 years, married for 15. And I actually created this because I was just getting asked by so many people, how do you do it? How do you keep it getting better and better? How do you keep it juicy over all those years? And so I'll share some about that. What I would first say is, first and foremost, that it is a skill set that gets built. So rather than beat ourselves up for what we don't know, to actually create space that no one taught us about this. So thank you for being a yes to learning, to stepping into like, hey, I might not know some stuff that would really help me have what I want. I'm going to bring Alicia on in a
I love people. I love working with people, but I was like becoming very interested in female sexuality and like ravenous to absorb information. And I was holed up in the library at my graduate school trying to learn, right? But this is like reading stuff. And it was not fun. I was kind of bored. And my friend Shayna was like, you should meet this guy, Erwan. He teaches a course called the Pleasure Course. And, I just think you'd like him. I'm like, take me to this guy. And then I met him and it was all over from there. I started dating him. I grabbed him. I married him. I had his baby and I run his organization now.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that, there are so many teachers in this space. This is sort of a sidebar, but, not that many of them are in long-term committed hot partnerships. And it's one of the things that people are always coming to me and asking, how do you do this? Like, I've studied a lot with David Data and John Wineland, and I teach with John Wineland. I'm a co-teacher in his programs. And most of the teachers out there don't live it. They teach sacred sexuality and they're great teachers. They have so much to offer. And I benefited so much from that. And then people are like, but how do you have this in the day to day? And so, we'll obviously dig into this a lot tonight, at least a taste of it. I also had a lot of people ask me, well, do I have to be partnered? What's hot monogamy? Like, how can I have hot monogamy if I'm not in a relationship? And I actually say, well, if you have a partner, you are advantaged because you have somebody who can practice with. And if you're single, you are advantaged because you have no history. You have no habits. You don't resent anybody yet. They haven't let you down. You actually have the opportunity to build from the ground up, to use these skills for discernment and who might be a good partner and how you build it. So I say this is for anybody. I even say it's for people who don't want pure monogamy. You could have multiple partners, but no matter how many people you're involved with, how do you deal with the inevitable boredom, the inevitable cooling down that happens when you are with the same person over and over? And oh my God, has 2020 given us an opportunity to get familiar with our partner, so I would just love to hear, Alicia. I'm sure your students are coming to you as well. Well, first of all, taking a step back, let's just open broadly the topic of awakening pleasure and desire. So one of the things that I love about this field, and I know you also teach about this, is people thinks that it's so much about sex. It's about relating sexually. And it's actually this very, very broad universe. Somewhere between my work and parenting self and actually having sex is this massive landscape that many people don't actually think about as this playing field for fulfillment and satisfaction and turn on and juiciness. So I'd love to hear like how you invite people to think broadly, more broadly about these areas of life.
Sure, yes. So one thing that comes to mind is like when, for example, one of our classes is called the pleasure course. It's our foundational course. And like people always think, oh, it's a sex course, right? And yes, we address sex and high-level sensual techniques in it, but it's not about that fundamentally. There's a pleasure that can be taken in life. And especially as women, I know there's actually some men here, which is really amazing that there's men here learning about pleasure. Hello, you're totally ahead of the game, so good job. But particularly for women, our bodies are just made for pleasure and made for enjoyment and made to express our appetites and our desires. And there's some psychological stuff and conditioning that can get in the way of that, which maybe we'll talk about today, maybe we won't. But sex is like one of the many ways that we can enjoy ourselves and our bodies. People often think, well, if I'm not in a relationship and hence it's maybe harder to have sex, I can't have pleasure. And like pleasure, and it's even so much more than getting a pedicure or getting a massage. I mean, of course, those things are pleasurable and wonderful, but there's something you can tap into your body and the experience of pleasure in life. There's just so much available, especially in our bodies as women.
Totally. Yes. And as I said, tonight we are going to give you just a little taste. So both Alicia and I have courses and coaching and all kinds of offerings if you want to go deeper. Tonight, what we really want to do, it is happy hour. We just want to give you a little teaser taste. We'll give you follow-up info if you want to dive deeper, lots of resources and all of that. But we do want to take you into your bodies. So we're going to just talk for a couple more minutes because I still see we have a number of people coming in, and I'd love for them to get these little embodied practices that we're going to give you tonight and things that you can do anytime. But just to follow up on that, this issue of taking it into the body. One of the things that I get from a lot of the women who I work with is they're numbed out. They're on their phones all the time. We're on screens all the time. And when they're not, there's children, there's people at work who want so much from them. And so the pleasure feels like work. They're like, the last thing I want to do is like work at something. And I know you've heard that too. So, I of course have all kinds of, rituals and things for that and things I can give them, but I'm curious, like, what are some of your favorite ways to offer, to invite a woman or a man, any human, any multi-gendered, fluid person in a human body dealing with today's high-tech world and busy, stressed out lives, to reconnect to their pleasure, to even begin to find the first inklings of it?
Yes. it's like so simple what I'm about to say, but we kind of forget it. The where your attention goes is how you're going to feel, right? And so it's not like a moral thing, not something wrong if you're on your phone or you're, really have to pray to your job or you've got these kids, there's all these distractions. And then, like you said, it can be like, oh, great, now I have to think of ways to like bring myself pleasure. I don't even want to do that. I just want to zone out in front of Netflix, um, which is understandable. So if you can just like drive a little wedge in between, you and then all of that stuff there is to do, maybe it's like for 5 minutes before you go and you have to wake your kids up, you just like sit there and you breathe, or there's so many of these like guided meditations these days that are just accessible on your app. You just listen and feel and go into your body for 5 minutes. There's bigger things like, okay, what's your priority? And do you really need to be working that much? And that whole thing we have about putting ourselves last and other people first, right? There's psychology around it. But I would say driving a little wedge. It doesn't have to be a big grand gesture.
It's so interesting. Yeah, I mean, the different analogies we can use. I offer the invitation to people to not have to go from 0 to 60 to connect with a partner. That if you can keep yourself on more of a simmer by reconnecting, even for a moment, and this is probably more relevant if you're in a female oriented body, because we're more oriented toward our senses, but whatever type of body you're in or type of energy system you inhabit, I like to just like, even just finding my own self for a moment, which you can do in a public place, you can do in your office, you can do in a meeting. Even that way that we opened this session, for those of you that were here in the beginning, your own breath, like as an avenue. People think it is so complicated, and yet the pleasure is actually available to us in just a tiny moment. And it's just that we forget, and I would just invite anyone who's listening, if you're overcomplicating, I read this great book that was called 10% Happier. And it was basically like, I stopped trying to make myself a different person and I just tried to get 10% happier. And I was like, I should call this course and my work 10% more turned on.
Yes.
Because imagine if we only had to get 10% more turned on. So, can we just focus and look for a few degrees of pleasure, a few degrees of energy in order to be the access point to what feels good, to more, rather than thinking we need to be a different person or a completely different place than we are.
Right. Or like change your whole life. It can be kind of daunting. Many of us have moments where we look at our lives and we're like, oh my gosh, like when I wake up to when I go to bed, I'm working, either on my house, on my kids, on my job. How am I going to fix and change this? No, you could start small. You could have a practice of like feeling your feet every hour on the hour, and then letting yourself, maybe if you're on Instagram, you follow a couple of these really beautiful artists that create sensual art. So like if you are going to be scrolling, you come across something and ooh, or there's so many little things. And then of course you can build. I mean, there's no limit to practices, sensual practices that you can have with yourself and your partner.
Absolutely. Yes. So, first big tip of the day, to start small. And it is so much more important. The practice you do is what counts. Having the right practice, the perfect practice. If you don't do it, it's not going to make much of a difference in your life. So whatever works for you. I mean, get a flavor of toothpaste you love, get a mouthwash, get, a natural spray or whatever it is. How can you have more things in your life that you like, that are easy, as the person you are, with the partner you have or don't have, in the apartment or the house you live in, really the invitation not to skip over what's available by paying attention, as Alicia, you said in the very beginning, like attention, what we pay attention to is what we end up feeling like we're experiencing. And so you're hearing from us, like a lot of what's made a huge difference in our lives is choosing what we pay attention to and noticing the things that feel good, and not in like a Pollyanna way that doesn't handle the things that need to be handled. But you're going to eat, you're going to brush your teeth, you're going to get dressed, you're going to sit in a chair. I'm on this Zoom call, and this environment is created because I love it. Like, I am just happy sitting here, even though I'm super nervous about doing something I've never done before. Yes. And my parents are watching this call, and I'm talking about pleasure and sex.
Yeah.
Yes. And, this is it. This is our life. Life doesn't wait. And so we want you to be a big yes to life with pleasure, So yeah, that's right.
I'll never forget the first time I went over to Erwan's house to hang out with him when we were first, long funny story of how we got to that point, but maybe for another time. So I finally surrendered and got out of being scared of how much I liked him, and accepted a hangout date at his house for tea. And I walked into his apartment, and it was like lavender I could smell, and there was this light music, kind of jazzy, sexy in the background, and the pillows on his couch felt really good. And it wasn't even he was in his early 30s. He wasn't some big thing. He had to spend all this money and all this time preparing the environment. No, he spent 5 minutes making it just a little nice. And I walked in and I just relaxed. My whole body relaxed. We can do that for ourselves. We can create an environment around ourselves, and then we get to enjoy it. We get to kind of feel like we're at the effect of it in a good way.
Yeah, I'm just feeling that even with your words so completely. My husband is also a rock star about that. I remember once I was driving home from a super busy day, and we had planned a date night, and I wanted to be juicy and yummy. We had planned, and I wasn't. I just wasn't in my body. And we lived in LA at the time, and I had my drive. So I texted him and I just said, I'm really excited for tonight. I need 20 minutes. I just need I don't even want to see you because I don't want to see you like I am now. But I'll be great at this time. And I got home, and I'm probably going to cry. There were these rose petals. He'd made a bath for me. He'd poured wine. He had a poem he had written for me waiting by the bath.
Oh my God.
With this note of I'll see you at whatever time we had said. And here's the thing for everyone out there. It's not because I have the perfect husband, although I do have an amazing husband. But what makes him amazing is that he is learning he's a learning creature. So I definitely tell people who are dating, you want someone who wants to learn. But I really want to put a pin in for the women here. I asked for time. I didn't show up with a husband expecting me to be juicy and amazing. And here I was, global CEO. We'd probably just gotten some bad news that day. I have a big team. So it's not that the work is not on you. Look what he did for me. Your man wants to make you happy, or a future partner wants you to be happy. But what I did was feel into what I needed and let him know. I set him up to win. And oftentimes we are not doing that. So I really, really offer that as well for, one of the keys to hot monogamy or hot relating or whatever is knowing what you need and building the muscle. I was weak in that muscle. I didn't know what I needed most of the time. I didn't know what I needed often until I wasn't getting it. And then how did I get? Complaining. Mm-hmm. So setting him up to win.
Yes.
What if you got to get your needs met? But you did have to know what they were, and you did have to let your partner know in some way. So there is a piece of responsibility, but it's not what we think. You don't have to do all the work. Do you have anything? It looks like you want to jump in and add anything there on that, Alicia?
Well, what it makes me think of, the word that comes to mind when you're talking is power.
Yeah.
And women can often feel like powerless in a relationship, or like I can't get what I want, or he won't give me what I want, or I
Yeah.
don't deserve what I want. You know, we have all these things we say to ourselves, or we can end up in a relationship where we're just not, you know, in touch with our desires. But the thing to know is that the, and I'm talking kind of heterosexually here, but it can definitely translate to other types of relationship. When the woman or the feminine person isn't happy in the relationship doesn't work. And that's not to say that, oh, the man or the masculine person doesn't matter. Of course, we're human beings, we all matter. But on a level of masculine feminine dynamics, that's like our space as the feminine, the romantic and the sexual, and how we are operating. It says a lot about how the relationship feels. So that's a lot of power that we have in the relationship, and we can use it for good, you know, like you did in your example where you're like, ooh, I'm going to show up and like the vibe is not going to be on. I'm going to be kind of a mess. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say something loving. I'm going to say what I need. And then you received it and it sounds like it worked out. Sometimes, because we haven't learned this skill or something, we end up inadvertently using it for the negative. You know, we complain or we shut down, or we're just kind of bad vibing the guy and he doesn't know how to help or make us happy. And it's a responsibility in the relationship, but it doesn't mean you do all the work, but it does mean you carry that power. So if you want to harness it, you know, sky's the limit on what you can.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And, you know, we're talking a lot about masculine, feminine dynamics later in this series. And I'll just put it out that, you know, we someday someone's going to invent better terms because the world is moving on from masculine, feminine as the terms. But for now, this emotional energy, this energy of feeling and I want and I don't want is the feminine energy in all of us. And then there's this masculine energy in all of us, or this linear, directed, goal-oriented energy. We all have both. And sometimes, you know, these days, what's really, you know, coming up is either partner can be depleted and complaining and, you know, wanting a little nurturing or a little filling up. And so, you know, part of why I begin my Art of Hot Monogamy courses and everything about the foundations of relating the way we want to, juicy and turned on and filled up, is each of us individually getting a little more full on our own. And don't worry, you won't get so full that you don't need somebody else. You don't want somebody else to share that with. But what is possible when we connect from a place of want versus a place of need and must, and depletion and numbness or emptiness? It's just night and day what can be created. And these are muscles that we build. These are skills. You know, in my busy business life, I was weak in this area. And you know, I was okay with pleasure that someone gave me, like getting a massage or getting a facial or those kinds of things. But giving to myself felt like work. And I kind of had to learn how to wake up around that. And so, yeah, we'll offer some of that to you tonight. And then, you know, it's a lifetime pleasurable journey. It's not a difficult one.
Yes, yes. It can almost feel not permissible, actually, sometimes to give to ourselves, to take that time for ourselves. So, you know, there's just psychological stuff and conditioning that comes along with this growth.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many things we could talk about. We could easily talk for hours and hours about this. Alicia and I are super passionate about this topic. We have also received a bunch of questions beforehand, and we're going to take some questions from you at the end. So as we get kind of bridge from that, we'd love to take you. We said at the start of this call, pleasure lives in the body. In our brain, in our head, is all our thoughts about pleasure, all our resistance, our strategies about it, everything we think we need to learn. And we're here to tell you that you actually have the right stuff already. It may be a weaker muscle for some of us, but we just want to kind of take the next 5 to 10 minutes. And we want to actually give you an experience in your body of the kind of things you could do even in the middle of the day. And I would especially recommend you consider some of this right before you go connect with an intimate partner or someone who you might want to be sharing some turned on time with. Because these practices, well, you'll see how you feel, but they're really designed to take you into a place where you're integrated. Those of you who are on at the beginning, where your emotions and your heart and your physical body, where all of that is together in the same place and our brain quiets down a little bit. So I'm going to begin and then I'm going to hand it off to Alicia partway through. So to start with, you're all probably looking into some kind of electronic device right now. And so I just want to invite you to allow your gaze to get wide. So for now, you still have the screen in your gaze, but you just widen. You take in the space behind the screen. Your peripheral vision, maybe there's a window. And as you get wide, I invite you to let your gaze drift and notice something that's appealing. Maybe a picture of someone you love, maybe a window with a sunset or some sunshine. Maybe there's a flower. Maybe there's a book you love. Maybe there's a fabric on a sofa or a floor or some souvenir you brought back from a lovely trip. Just noticing something nourishing. And then as you take in this nourishing item, letting yourself stay wide, allowing whatever you're gazing at to come to you. So noticing energetically if you are going out, narrowing, focusing, concentrating, let your eyes relax. Notice how you can see this item, this light, this window, this plant, without any tension. We add so much tension and we don't even know we're doing it. And then let the front of your body begin to rest back toward the back of your body. So you're wide with your gaze, you're soft in your body, you're heavy in your seat. Without consciously changing your breath, it's probably already started to deepen. The front of you sinking back and down, as if the back of you was giving a big supportive hug to the front of you. And just feeling your breath as a sensation, letting it fill you up, expanding your lungs, your belly. And on the exhale, sinking into the feeling of being held. Let yourself be held by you, widening your awareness to include your whole body. Noticing what else might feel good. Maybe the hair resting against your cheek. Maybe there's a breeze you hadn't noticed, moving across your skin. Maybe a little sound would feel good to come out. And as you pay attention to what feels good, without any effort, can you magnify it a little bit just through awareness, just through softening toward it, noticing it, what feels good. Maybe you have a little subtle, gentle movement. Maybe you open your mouth or roll your neck. When we drop in and soften like this, we notice tension that we hadn't noticed. Maybe you need to pee. Maybe you're thirsty. We forget ourselves. And when you can just allow an awareness of what feels good, being so patient, so kind. It's Mother's Day tomorrow. This kind of noticing is like being the best mother to yourself, giving yourself the kind of nurturing you would give maybe a child or a lover, but you're bringing it to yourself, just softening and widening into what feels good. And then gently, when you've enjoyed and magnified, released, relaxed this tension, you're going to allow yourself to come back toward the screen, but see if you can stay soft and wide and deep. Just imagine as you receive Alicia's guidance, bringing a little bit of this to your next conversation with a partner, maybe even to your next meeting.
Mm. Wonderful. So you all can notice the shift in the voice and the tone from Allie's beautiful visualization, meditation process. Really beautiful. And take a nice breath into your body. Doesn't need to be a big breath or a certain type, just natural breath. And this is a place you can come back to anytime your mind gets enchanted with an idea or a memory or a future thought. You just let yourself breathe, noticing the effects of where Allie brought all of us. You might notice certain sensations in your body, some pleasurable. Maybe you noticed, ooh, I'm tense in my shoulder and didn't realize that. Okay, can we bring some breath and some love there? And then slowly, I want you to bring your awareness down your body. So you're aware of first your head center and whatever that head center feels like, both the thoughts, the skull, the face, the muscles. But letting yourself drop down into your heart space, your chest, noticing physical sensations like temperature, or does it feel full in there, or hollow and empty, or still? And if your mind has anything to say about any of that, you can just ignore. It's really fine to ignore your thoughts. Continuing to bring your attention into your belly. You might notice that the sensations are different than your head and your heart. So just noticing those. Maybe you feel flutters or you feel stillness. Or there might be a temperature. And then what I want you to do now is bring your attention into your pelvic area. This is the sex center. So we're exploring pleasure tonight. So while it's not all about sex, we don't want to leave out this center of our bodies. So you can just let your attention spill into your pelvis, your hips, your genital area. You might notice clenching. We often unconsciously kind of clench our genitals, and like I'm saying genitals, and you might be like, ooh, genitals, this is familiar, or I don't really talk about this much. Don't worry. Just feel what you feel. There might be some thoughts, you can ignore them, but just let yourself settle right into this power sexual center of your body, whether you're a masculine, feminine person, somewhere in between, however you're feeling now in this moment. Let yourself just say hello to this sex center. Bringing some breath. And once you've done that, you can really gently bring your attention into your feet. You know, if your feet are touching the floor, just like feel them against the ground. Or if you're sitting cross-legged, feel them against the surface. We'll ground ourselves. Taking the last couple of breaths. You're welcome to keep your attention in your sex center throughout the rest of this if you want, or you don't have to. You can gently bring yourselves back.
Oh my God, I love that so much. So when I started this journey, I would have been all the things. And one of the other things, we're not going to work on it in this call, but that I just offer to particularly all the beings on this gathering who are in a female identified body or who have a vagina, I'll use that word. The amount of pleasure energy that is circulating in us at all times. And it is more than if you are in a masculine, male oriented biological body. It's just different with the biology. And this ability we have just by paying attention, just by breathing, by noticing. We think we need him to look at me a certain way or say the thing, or we need the restaurant, or we need the kids to be this way. We need to lose the weight, get the good night's sleep. I mean, the amount of pleasure energy that is circling in my body right now, just from that 10 minutes is nuts. And I offer this with hopefully as an inspiration, because this was not me 10 or 12 years ago. This is a journey that I have devoted myself to. And I created the Art of Hot Monogamy. Alicia has the Pleasure Course. We offer these to you because this is the path that we have walked. We were not born in a different body, human form than you. We were not magically lucky enough to have the perfect parenting. Oh, mom and dad, of course, you were perfect since you're on this call. We're humans living a human existence, and we just chose to study this. We study pleasure the way we went to, I have an MBA, I went to school for business. Why do we expect to have great sex and great relationships when we don't have teachers and we don't go to class? It's a lot more fun than some of the classes I went to. But both of us are here. We are teachers now, but it really comes out of our student love of this. I'm on this path forever, and I know you and Erwan are too. My husband is as well. And there's seriously no more rewarding education. And I have like a lot of pretty prestigious degrees in my back pocket, and I would still choose this education over those for what it offers for a lifetime full of what I really want. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Well, we are almost out of time. We did promise to answer questions live. We did have several that were emailed in, which are also all relevant to topics on other nights. And the people who sent them in are registered for other nights. So what I'm going to do, because I did promise to get you all out of here on time, I'm going to answer one question that was emailed in. We'll answer one live question if whoever jams into that chat first and gets your question in there, which means be concise because you'll hit send before someone else. We'll answer one pre-question and one live question, then we'll wrap it up so we can send you into your night, maybe a little yummy and pleasure-filled. So the question I'm gonna answer first is, someone asked, how full do I need to get before I go and connect with a partner to have it be good? And what if I get too full? Then I won't want to go and connect with them. So I'll say a couple things on that. Well, first, actually, Alicia, do you want to respond on that first, and then I'll chime in?
Yeah, here's the thing that comes to my mind, which is something I know about myself and many other women, female identified folks, is we want to want. We like to want. We have desire, and then having the desire feels good. So I don't know if that's part of the question, but what comes to me is like, how can I still have that yummy desire and wanting for something if I have filled myself up. So, you know, I'm just going to say that, and then why don't you say what you're going to say, and then I might say something else.
Great.
It's not an answer to the question.
I mean, this is, you know, first of all, you're actually never, the moment you think you're full, just wait till the next moment. And most feminine beings are then unfull.
Yes.
Because as soon, you know, once you've had that amazing wine or that amazing cake or that amazing sex or that amazing sun bath, that just like, who doesn't want the sun to shine the next day? So I do think feminine appetite, feminine pleasure has this amazingly rejuvenative quality. So I would definitely, don't worry about filling up so much that you won't want more. That's extremely unlikely to happen. I think the more we have, the more we want, but it's in a much more, it's looser. It doesn't, it's like when you water a plant that hasn't been watered for very long, in a while, and it can't really absorb the water. But when you're watering it on the right schedule, it just can take so much more water. We want to be like well-watered plants. We want to be moist and juicy and able to receive. So I don't think, I love that you're bringing that as a possibility, and I would just reassure you that you don't need to worry too much about that. And then the second piece I'm going to say on how full should I be, and can I be too full and my partner won't think I need them or something. So one of the things I really want as a feminine being, and I think most women want, I mean, we all want it, but it has this beautiful cycle, is I want to be wanted. And when I bring my fullness to my partner, or to, and if you were to bring it to a partner, it has this amazing physics, this biological equation happens that when you bring fullness and appetite, it's almost irresistible. Now, the one piece I'll say on the skill building, because plenty of you out there, especially in long-term partnerships, are like, not always, or I feel it already.
Yes.
And I've been there. This is the practice. I call it holding the pose. Can you not close it back up and take it away the moment your partner doesn't respond exactly the way you want? And so that is one of the things we work on. We train, no shame, no blame. You are not trained to put it out there and keep it out there when you're not getting what you want. So a lot of what I work on with women is a training of our nervous system, of our musculature, our art. I feel I train women to be artists of love. That is what I feel I have become, and what I offer to you. And you don't become an artist overnight. So I just offer all of that both as a possibility, not something to beat yourself up about or make yourself wrong, but as an area of practice and study if you want to become more artistic at how you fill up and how you offer yourself to either a current partner or someone who may be walking down the street in the future.
Yes. Getting in touch with our appetites can sometimes at first be like, oh my God, it's so big. What do I do with this? It could get out of control. So it's really nice if you have the support and the structure, because we all really want to have what we want, and we want to be able to digest what we receive and enjoy it and have the men around us win.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. What a great note to win on. We want you all to win. So to that end, Alicia, if people wanted to get more information from you or get in touch with you, what is the best way for?
You just text our number right now. It's 415-308-9580. 415-308-9580. Anytime, now, later. And I'll also give you, Allie, a link if people prefer to click a link to set up this consultation. You can do that, and I look forward to it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alicia. It's been amazing being here with you. There are 4 more nights to go. This is just the first night. As you can see, we could talk about this for so much longer. You all have my contact information whenever you respond to Eventbrite or any of those things. I am alliecole@live.com if you want to send me an email. We will be taking more questions and answering them live. We got way too many questions to answer in these lives, so you're also invited to book a follow-up conversation with me, and I am happy to go through your specific situation questions and help you find more pleasure and more of all the other amazing skills we're going to talk about over these next 4 nights. So I very much hope that you will continue to join us. Same bat time, same bat channel. You can invite your friends. I'll have other amazing, radiant, delightful women like Alicia coming on to speak about different areas, and I will also be sharing my journey as well. So please, if we didn't get to your question, I'm going to keep the chat. If you popped it in there, I'll keep a note, and you can always have a conversation afterwards, and then we'll also be addressing some of them in these evenings to come. There will be a recording that goes out on this if you want to rewatch. I think I forgot to start it in the beginning, so it'll start somewhere in it. And my last invitation to all of you as we send you off into this Mother's Day Eve evening is that you give yourself at least 5 minutes between now and when you go to sleep tonight to soak in what feels good in some way. Maybe it's not till you get into bed. Just take in the feeling of your sheets, your pillow. Let your toes, your fingers, take it in as if you were lying down for the first time. Maybe you're going to go have a yummy dinner. Let the first bites be the best, most interesting food you've ever had. Maybe you're going out, maybe your town, your community is starting to open up after COVID. Can you give yourself at least 5 minutes to just find the pleasure in what's already there?